Now, fish keeping is 50% water quality and 50% food quality. So you really want to look at the foods that you feed. I'm not a fan of any of these heavily processed, pressure cooked foods. I'm very biased towards two foods. One is Spectrum's probiotics. Now, the reason why I like Spectrum's probiotics is that it's a cold extruded food, so you're actually getting the nutrients that the fish want. And the second thing is that it's got a probiotic bacteria in the food. And what that means is when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo physically eats the poo. So you find that the tank stains a lot cleaner when you feed on this food. I also really love to add some Danichi color, because I find that the health of the fish with the Danichi color is just amazing. So if this was my tank, I'd start by getting some Spectrum probiotics, and then sooner or later, I'd add a little bit of the Danichi color to the diet. Now, as far as the water quality is concerned, the ammonia and nitrite is pretty well zero, which is good. There's only a little bit of nitrate in the water, which is good. pH is alkaline, which is good. KH is about 3, which is acceptable for this tank. And then the GH is about 0. So the way that works is when you've got a river, and then at one end of the river, up in the mountains where the river starts, you're going to find your more acidic water fish. So that's your softer water fish, things like your neon tetras. Then as you go down the river, you go down towards the ocean. And as you get closer to the ocean, the water becomes more alkaline and the water becomes harder. So it becomes closer to salt water. And then eventually the river will actually turn to salt water. So depending on where the fish are found in the river will depend on what their water quality is. And as a generalization, your lake fish tend to be a harder water fish because of higher contact to the minerals and so forth. So it's important to know what the quality of your water is. But the other thing to be aware of is that as a generalization, the acidic water fish do better in alkaline water than the alkaline water fish do in acidic water. So if you're going to go a little bit towards one, you would definitely go towards the alkaline. So I would want this aquarium to be above 7 in pH. I'd want it to be about, say, 4 plus as far as, or 4 as far as KH is concerned. And then I'd want the hardness to be at least 8 or 12, whereas at the moment it's quite low. So I'd want to add some GH salts to this tank. And that's just generally going to improve the immune system of the fish. Now, the other thing is the decorations. As far as decorations are concerned, you put the decoration in there. At the start, it looks cool. And after a while, it starts looking old. So then the best thing to do is get all your decorations out, put them in the sun for a day. Then the next day or two, turn them around, put them in the sun for another day. And the sun will bleach off this algae quite effectively, and then hit it with the hose, and you'll find that a lot of the time the ornaments come up pretty much good as new. And it's good to have some different ornaments to cycle in and out of the aquarium, because those ornaments are basically the fish's world. So when you swap that around every now and then that keeps it all interesting for the fish. So it sort of changes their world and gives them something new to explore. So, you know, a few times a year, I'm a big fan of just swapping the decorations around. And that colours it all up and keeps you interested. So that's a really good thing. Now, the other thing I'm looking at with this aquarium is, once again, I'm looking at one source of filtration. So we've got a top filter up there. So the water's coming up into that top filter. And then the top filter is going to grow billions of bacteria. And then the bacteria that grows in this top filter is going to use oxygen to oxidize the nutrients in the water. But ultimately what it does do is suck all the oxygen out of the water. Now, because of this design, the water is falling back in, which means that as long as we don't fill the tank up too much, then this water is probably not going to be an oxygen deficit as far as the filter is concerned. But still, there's no backup at all. So I would be a little bit concerned. I would want to add either a bubbler or just an extra pump for a little bit of extra water flow, because I'm a big fan of backup. And then that means that the filter can be used for filtration, knowing that the water that comes out of a filter is often in oxygen deficit because the bacteria has taken all the oxygen out of the water. And then at the moment, the tank's down pretty low. So as long as you don't mind that that's down pretty low, that's okay. But if you did want to fill it up because you thought it looks better, then oxygen can be a problem in this tank. Because once again, the water is going into this mat, and this mat's going to grow lots of bacteria, and under that is some noodles. Now, I'm not a real big fan of these noodles because these noodles are nitrifiers, which means they only work with aerobic bacteria, which means they break ammonia into nitrate or something you don't want into something else that you actually don't want. Now, this tank does not have a nitrate problem, so with its current stocking, it's not actually a problem. But if I was choosing filter media, I would definitely get Marine Pure. And the reason why I'd get Marine Pure is it has parallel denitrification, so you don't get the nitrate, which, mind you, this tank doesn't have a nitrate problem at the moment. So it's important that this media is never cleaned in tap water. We want to just clean it in water from the fish tank. And we've got a bit of filter floss on top. And then inside this pump is also going to be an impeller. So I'd want to pull that out every now and then and just give that a bit of a clean. So once again, if you bring a sample of water and video down to the shop on a semi-regular basis, we can guide you through these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, we need to see the food that you're feeding, and we need to test your water and see the other bits and pieces you've got for the tank. Because basically what my job is I go to one house and the fish look great, and then I test the water and it's really terrible. Then I look in the cupboard and there's good quality food. Then I can go to the very next house. All the fish can be dying. And I can test the water and it can be much better than the last house. And then I look in the cupboard and sure enough, there's bad quality food. So that's sort of how I've figured out over the sort of being in the industry for nearly 30 years is what are the good foods. And the good foods, in my opinion, are the foods that keep the fish nice and healthy, even when the water quality is not ideal. What I like to do is do a little fish stuff check. So as far as this aquarium is concerned, algae control products I would be very much against using, particularly because there's not a lot of oxygen in this tank, and these sorts of products can deplete the tank of oxygen. So I would be scared of adding this tank into this tank. I would be wanting to use just good husbandry to make sure that you're not getting algae. Now, adding catfish like bristlenose would do a wonderful job for helping keep the algae down. But my main concern in this tank is dissolved oxygen level and redox potential. So I would want to add a bubbler or something else to agitate the surface further. And I would be somewhat concerned about using that product. Now, there's really no reason to use this product at all, because pH down is going to be not in the best interest of these live-bearing fish. If you just had the neons, then yes, you could consider using this product, but I would not be using it. Now we've got some filter wool, that's fine. We've got some water ager. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Now it's very, very important that water ager goes in every time we introduce tap water to the aquarium, because the tap water contains chlorine, and the chlorine will kill your good bacteria and can actually kill your fish. And the thing that's confusing about water ager 2 or chlorine is that Sydney tap water dosage their chlorine to a maximum minimum level, which means you can do 10 water changes and not have a problem, and then you can do 1 and then suddenly your fish die. Now, Stress Coat is another water ager. So this is a water ager plus aloe vera. So I'm happy to see that. Now we have some more noodles. I don't really have any reason for that. We have a holiday block. These Tetra ones are probably better of the holiday blocks. So if you are going to use a holiday block, this is probably the one to use. I'm not the biggest fan of holiday blocks, but sometimes you do need them. I prefer the Tetra one to these ones. And if you're going to use these products as you're going away, I'd rather you underuse them than overuse them. Now, Algae Fix, once again, Algae Fix is fixing a problem that I don't really think we should have in this tank. So if you're getting algae in this tank, the first thing I'd want to do is increase oxygen, because that'll decrease CO2 and decrease your algae. And other than that, I'd just not have the light on too much. Now here's a replacement filter sponge.
That's for the other tank.
For the other tank, yep. So you want to replace them monthly if you want them to be effective. Now we've got some more noodles for some reason. But
Oh, no, we get the other ones that we've had.
yeah, so they don't age. So mind you could put them in that other goldfish tank if you wanted to, just to increase the media in there. Not that it would really make too much difference. Now this is some clear cloudy water. Once again, I don't really think this tank needs this sort of stuff when it's being well managed. Now that's some good bacteria. These products are better kept in the fridge once you've used them. But anyway, then we've got some more good bacteria. So those products, I'm not against them. It's just that they really should be in the fridge when you're not using them. Otherwise, then we've got a couple more cartridges that you could use in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, the older tank.
Sure. You could still use it in this tank by putting it underneath the spray bar.